Hello, my name is Elizabeth Press, and I am founder of D3M Labs, the data-driven decision-making blog. And as part of our series about the foreigner experience in Germany, I'm here with Nicolas Michaud, a fellow data leader who I very much admire. And we're here to talk about European management and how it's evolved and this Franco-German connection.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you for having me here. Indeed, we know one another since quite a while now. I've been in Germany for 25 years. I am head of data and business analytics. I've been doing this for exactly as long as that. I spent all my career in Germany, and that's why when you proposed that we discuss the topic of today, I thought, yeah, that's really something.
In the wake of European integration, there was this huge spirit of what is European management, and of course the Franco-German alliance and connection, and really just how these two countries could be a pole for Europe.
Yes, those were very different times, right? I was also starting in the IT in 2000. Starting in the middle of a crisis. It was not that great. Back then, if you remember the big types of projects that were the ERPs, like rolling out SAP everywhere. And as I came on the market as a young BI specialist, the very typical project was rolling out SAP on an European scale. It was very new because before that, we were always talking about French-German projects and that would revolutionize everything, would mutualize our means of action, our budgets, and we would be able to make a big impact. But when I started to work, the French-German projects and the French-German co-working had already given place to the European one. And well, this is a very different time too, because back then, if you remember, there were 15 countries in the European Union, not 27. And back then, Germany and France, and especially France, they had very different weights. So that had an impact on the projects too. And the people also, they hadn't been gone so often abroad for studies. And there were still many people, like having worked 20 years, who had not been so good talking in English. So that's been really different time, and this has evolved a lot since then, right? And as to the French people, well, they have evolved a lot since then. They have become much more international. And right now in Germany, you still see a lot of French coming.
By the time the 2010s came around, there was this focus on all of these cool new digital platforms. I remember, the Facebook movie and Dropbox and all of these, and Uber and all of these new phenomenon. And with these new American digital companies and the fascination with American entrepreneurs came American methods. There was the lean startup, there was agile, and there was this sudden focus on American management. And it seemed like the digital space just got very Americanized. You and I had talked about that. Could you give me some perspectives about how you've seen this evolve over time?
Yes, it's been the years 2000 to 2015 have been really fascinating to observe. You remember back then, Google got its IPO in 2004. Amazon came to UK and Germany in 98, but they were really felt on the market about 2002, 2003. Facebook 2004. So those companies, they came about and they grew so fast, they became so important in our daily lives that it really had a big impact on the image that the IT people had on themselves. That's when we started to talk a bit less of BI and even more from data analytics. We were taking over the codes coming from California and from the dot-coms. Simply because when you could see a company talking about simplicity, about slick design, about hypergrowth, and you could only be conquered over, and you would simply try to do the same. And that's when we started to talk more and more in English everywhere. And French vocabulary I was not using anymore for a long time because I was working in Germany. But we also replaced the German practices, German processes. We took more and more of the .com ways of working, even if we weren't by any means close to being a .com. That's a real cultural shift that happened back then. But when you remember also, that's also around the time when we started to all use iPhones in the train or in the bus, more in the bus than the train for obvious network reasons. We got really impressed by the possibility to do everything simply from your handheld. And this has simply changed completely the mentality. And nowadays, it's very frequent to see even clothing codes from California around the office in Germany, like everyone wearing a cap, for example, among the other ones. Big increase in beards too. Also, things that have impacted a lot using in English is we shouldn't forget that in the same period, India and China became very, very important on the global landscape. So that's where you would really start to see connections with remote teams from India, or also see some Chinese delegates starting to collaborate with you. Like they became suddenly very present. And that's where nobody was thinking anymore about French-German teams. That was immediately English-speaking team and very international.
What about the differences between how Germany and France view integration and immigration?
France and Germany, they're very different with this regard because they represent like the two opposites in terms of relationship to nationality and to identity. Germany is typical as the Central European countries which have struggled for decades for their own identity. Whereas in France, UK, or the US, we have countries that are very integrative, where it is possible to become local. In Germany, it's a bit different because historically, the unification is much more recent. It's like 150 years old. And second, they have had a very dramatic history where the relationship with their own identity is sometimes difficult. And what this means practically is that Germans, they would be a bit sometimes puzzled if you would say that you as a foreigner want to sink in, like get German, because they would wonder, why should someone want that? You are French. It's very well that you're French. Do you really want to become German? And actually, it's not that they would say it's not for you. It's just, why? Yeah, so what it means for us foreigners in Germany, this is that the notion of belonging is a bit specific here. For example, for me, I've been 25 years in Germany and I have the German citizenship too. Yet, as soon as I open the mouth, people recognize my French accent. And so I'm the French guy around. That's not going to change as long as I don't make an effort. So actually, I'm not really trying to pretend to be a local and just playing this role. It's just sometimes, yeah, I think you have to respect that. That's sometimes it's a bit frustrating, but that's simply part of the game.